I think the physical space added to the sense of belonging in the sense that no matter where you were in the classroom, you were immersed in it. The double monitors, you could see everything anyone was talking about, you're talking to your peers, and I think actively engaging and being with someone completely transformed how I was learning in the classroom.
So I feel like the physical space really helped me because I got to see my peers' faces, and when I see their faces, it's easy to tell that they're supporting me rather than judging me, I guess, even though they wouldn't. But it feels like it's kind of like subconsciously you get embarrassed over your mistakes. So the physical space, it really helped get through that boundary, and it really made me more comfortable speaking up in class. And also through the double monitors, it was easy for everybody to be participating in class. Nobody felt at a disadvantage if the class was a bigger size.
Well, I think that the classroom setup really aided in just growing the community that we had. Like my class of just 15 people was really connected, and even though I am in an English class of a similar size, we don't have that sense of community because we're all very quiet. There's no community that's built just because we all sit at our own tables and we all kind of just go to our phones as soon as possible, and that just contributes to my enjoyment of the Spanish class compared to other classes.
The classroom setup has been great in my experiences here in this class. Unlike anything here at the university throughout my past year being here, the dual monitor setup really allows everyone to have equal opportunity to see the resources in the class. Being apart from your partner in class, you sit across from each other, really allows you to create a real relationship with one each other. You know, sitting side to side, you don't really lock eyes all the time, but having to actually look at a person face to face really kind of builds what a true relationship is in a real conversation.
So definitely at the beginning, I was more nervous about speaking Spanish because a lot of high school Spanish classes, you're focused more on reading and writing. But because we communicated a lot with our peers before class and always got to sit across from them and get to know them, it was a lot easier for me to feel comfortable speaking with them and making mistakes. And I don't think I thought I would feel as comfortable doing that, but because I just kind of went out of my comfort zone and took the risk of making mistakes, I felt better doing so.
I think it's essential because language is unlike any other subject. It's so hard to navigate, and it's different in every sense. So I think making mistakes is the only way you can truly move forward, and the active learning space and constantly talking to your peers and in such a comfortable space where you're not afraid to make mistakes, it just helps you get to that finish line.
I accomplished getting out of my comfort zone by forcing myself to get out there. And the class also forced me to get outside of my comfort zone by sitting next to someone different every class and having to talk to different people, and we were constantly doing activities.
I feel like getting to know my peers before class even started really made me more comfortable around them. So it was easier for me to ask them for help because it's harder to ask for help from other people. But it really made it easier to ask them for help, to get directions, or to just even talk to them. When I see them outside, I could say hi to them. I don't feel like a stranger. We all felt like a nice little community.
Socializing with my peers before class allows me to connect with my peers on a deeper level, to get to know them and have a relationship with them outside of class.
Socializing before class really just, as someone who's more introverted in nature, even in that small English class, I don't really enjoy talking to people. It's easy to just stay reserved to yourself. But in Spanish, I find enjoyment in talking to new people, especially when we were assigned different people every class period. I think that really helped with just meeting new people and fostering new connections.
I got to know them really well. We're all on a first name basis, and if we see each other out around grounds, we all say hi and everything, which is really nice. And it's just, if you're in a space where you are comfortable learning a language and you don't feel embarrassed when you make a mistake, you're going to push yourself farther and then end up learning more from your peers.
If someone were planning on taking a class in an active learning environment, I think I would just tell them that it's a very collaborative space, and just be prepared to probably speak your opinions, maybe be uncomfortable, make mistakes, just because everybody else is learning in the same aspect as you are, and other people's strengths could be your weaknesses, and other people's weaknesses could be your strengths. And that's just something to go into the class thinking about, it's okay to make mistakes. Making mistakes is essential.
My recommendations for someone who would take an active learning class is to fully immerse yourself in it. It genuinely was the best experience, especially with Spanish being so different than anything you're used to before and so polar opposite than any of your other classes at university. I just think fully immerse yourself in the experience, and it is okay to struggle in a place where you feel alone so much of the time. Being in active learning, I really saw that everyone else struggles, and it made me feel not alone.
When I first learned about the active learning space, I got really nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to participate. Everyone's going to be listening to my answers and blah, blah, blah. But I think it's just being open-minded to a new learning technique and not being scared of it, and just embracing making mistakes and getting to know your peers, and it just helps learning a lot.
The active learning class in Spanish is different than all the rest of my courses because I get to interact with all of my classmates and I get to talk to them every day. In the beginning of the year, it was a little nerve-wracking at first because I didn't know anyone in the class besides one of my friends. But then at the end of the year, now I'm friends with everyone in the class, and it forces you to get outside of your comfort zone, and that's where all of the learning happens.
The active learning class definitely differentiates from other classes that I've taken prior, and different lecture halls and things like that. I've definitely received a sense of community within the class, and one-on-one engagement is definitely a lot different than other classes.
I think they're polar opposites. I've never felt so comfortable in a classroom. I learned more in this class than all of my high school, because in high school we would just sit and do worksheets and just quietly, and I didn't talk to my peers. And when you're uncomfortable, just even in a classroom, just being yourself, you're never gonna go out and make mistakes and struggle in front of them, because you can't even be yourself in front of them. So being that active learner in the active space, and we're always communicating, I wasn't afraid to mess up, and I wasn't afraid to talk, and I wasn't afraid to take risks. So that active learning completely changed how I interacted with people in Spanish.